Tonight, allow your breathing to slow and your thoughts to gently settle as we step into a quieter corner of American history, one where power speaks softly and presence is measured not in words, but in calm, watchful silence in the grand rooms of the White House, beyond speeches and schedules. Cats once moved unnoticed, resting in sunlit windows, observing from velvet chairs, and witnessing moments the history books never recorded. As you relax, we'll uncover how these quiet companions reflected the emotional rhythm of leadership, revealing subtle signals of power, patience, and pause from the most guarded location in the nation. If this story brings you comfort, consider subscribing for more gentle histories, designed to help you fall asleep faster and rest more deeply each night. And before you drift away, tell us in the comments where you're listening from tonight. A city, a state, or simply somewhere quiet. Your place in the world becomes part of this shared calm. Now, let your eyes grow heavy and allow the story to unfold. In the quiet hours of the evening, when the world outside begins to soften and the edges of the day lose their sharpness, it becomes easier to notice the small things, the subtle things, the moments that usually pass unnoticed when attention is fixed on urgency, responsibility, and noise. Tonight's story invites you into that gentler perspective, a way of seeing power, not through speeches or ceremonies, but through stillness, presence, and quiet companionship. When most people imagine centers of authority, they picture grand rooms, polished desks, carefully measured words, and decisions that ripple outward across continents. Power, in the popular imagination, is loud. It is decisive. It is always moving forward. But beneath that image lies another reality, one far quieter, slower, and more human. In these spaces of leadership, where time is tightly scheduled and outcomes are constantly weighed, there have always been moments of pause, small, ordinary moments that exist beyond the reach of official records. A chair pulled closer to a window, a lamp left on late into the night, and sometimes the soft presence of an animal sharing the room. Animals do not understand titles. They do not respond to rank or protocol. They are unaware of history unfolding around them, and yet their presence has long accompanied people in positions of great responsibility, not as symbols of power, but as reminders of something older and simpler: connection without expectation, companionship without condition. Tonight, as your breathing slows and your thoughts begin to drift, we explore this overlooked role of animals in places of authority, not as mascots or curiosities, but as quiet companions whose presence subtly reshapes the emotional atmosphere around them. In particular, we will consider how the calm existence of a cat, assuming independent and observant, offers a different lens through which to understand power itself. Cats move through the world differently than humans do. They are attentive without being intrusive, present without demanding explanation. In a room filled with plans and projections, a cat occupies only the moment it is in. The warmth of a sunbeam, the comfort of a familiar surface, the quiet satisfaction of simply being nearby. This way of existing stands in gentle contrast to the relentless forward motion of leadership. In offices where decisions must anticipate consequences years into the future, a cat lives entirely in the now. And that contrast, subtle as it may be, creates a balance that is rarely acknowledged. Imagine a large, formal room late at night. The day's meetings have ended. The phones are quiet. Outside, the city hums softly, distant and steady. Papers lie stacked neatly on a desk, waiting for morning. In this stillness, a cat stretches, jumps lightly onto a chair, and curls into rest. Nothing changes on the surface. No policies are altered. No announcements are made. And yet, the room itself feels different, softer, less burdened. The presence of another living being, one that expects nothing beyond comfort and familiarity, creates a moment of shared calm. Animals have always occupied this space alongside humans, Long before buildings of power existed, people lived and worked alongside animals as part of daily life. They shared shelters, routines, and rhythms shaped by daylight and rest. Even as societies grew more complex and hierarchies more defined, this quiet relationship remained in modern centers of authority. Animals are rare enough to be noticed, yet familiar enough to feel natural. Their presence reminds us that leadership, at its core, is still carried by human beings, people who experience fatigue, reflection, and moments of solitude, just like anyone else. Cats, in particular, bring with them an energy that is uniquely suited to these environments. Unlike animals that seek constant engagement, cats are content to observe. They choose their moments carefully. They enter a room without announcement and leave without explanation. This quiet autonomy mirrors a form of confidence that requires no display. In a space where every movement is analyzed and every word recorded, the freedom of a cat to simply exist can be quietly grounding. It introduces an element that cannot be managed, scheduled, or controlled. And in doing so, it reminds those around it that not everything needs to be as you listen. Allow yourself to imagine these scenes slowly. There is no rush, no conclusion to reach. This is a story meant to unfold at the pace of rest. Picture long corridors softened by evening light, thick carpets absorbing footsteps, windows reflecting the dim glow of lamps inside. Somewhere in this space, a cat moves with quiet certainty, is familiar with its surroundings, is unbothered by their significance. The cat does not know it walks through rooms where history has been shaped. It does not sense the weight of decisions made nearby, and yet its presence changes the emotional texture of the place. Not dramatically, just enough to be felt. For those carrying responsibility, such moments matter more than they appear. Leadership often demands constant alertness, constant readiness. The mind rarely rests. Even in quiet moments, it anticipates what comes next. An animal companion, unaware of these pressures, offers something rare: permission to pause. A cat resting nearby sends a simple, unspoken message. It is safe to be still. It is acceptable to exist without purpose, even briefly. This message does not come through words, but through presence alone. There is comfort in routine, and cats understand this deeply. They return to the same spots. They follow familiar paths. They settle into patterns that repeat day after day. In environments defined by unpredictability, this consistency can be deeply soothing. Late at night, when responsibilities feel heaviest, the quiet rhythm of another living being can anchor attention. The slow rise and fall of breathing, the gentle sound of movement. These small sensory details bring the mind back to the present moment, away from spirals of thought. This is not escapism. It is grounding. Throughout history, people in positions of power have sought ways to remain connected to ordinary life. Some found comfort in gardens, others in music, reading, or walking alone. Animals have often been part of this quiet retreat, not as distractions, but as companions who require no explanation. Cats offer companionship without demand. They do not ask for reassurance. They do not seek approval. Their independence is complete, and yet their presence is warm. This balance mirrors a kind of ideal relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation. In the context of leadership, this dynamic becomes especially meaningful. Surrounded by advisors, staff, and expectations, a leader rarely experiences interactions free from intent. Every conversation has a purpose. Every meeting has an agenda. A cat introduces an interaction without any of that. The cat does not care about outcomes. It responds only to the moment. A quiet voice, a familiar presence, a comfortable space. As you imagine these scenes, notice how your own body responds. Perhaps your shoulders soften. Perhaps your breathing deepens. This story is not asking you to analyze or conclude. It is inviting you to rest alongside these moments of calm. In this way, animals become part of the unseen emotional infrastructure of power. They do not appear in official portraits or historical timelines, but they shape the internal experience of those who lead. They offer balance where there might otherwise be only pressure. Power is often described as isolating. Responsibility can create distance between individuals and the people they serve. Animals, unconcerned with such divides, exist outside that structure. They approach without hesitation and withdraw without judgment. This uncomplicated relationship can be profoundly reassuring. Imagine the quiet companionship of a cat during a long evening. The day's responsibilities completed, the next day not yet begun. In that space between, there is room to simply be, to observe, to breathe. The cat does not interrupt thought, but it softens it. It does not solve problems, but it creates space around them. This space is where reflection becomes possible, not forced reflection, but the kind that arises naturally when the mind is allowed to slow. As listeners, we are invited into this same space, to set aside the noise of the day, to release the need to understand everything, to rest in observation rather than action. This story does not ask you to reconsider history or reinterpret leadership. It simply offers a quieter angle, a reminder that even in the most powerful places, calm exists, that even in rooms where decisions shape nations, there is room for softness. Cats, with their silent confidence and gentle routines, embody this softness. They remind us that presence does not need to be loud to be meaningful, that influence does not always announce itself, that sometimes the most profound effects come from simply being there. As your eyes grow heavier and your thoughts drift more freely, allow this idea to settle gently. Power is not only found in action, it is also found in rest, in observation, in the quiet moments that restore balance. Tonight, you are invited to share that balance, to rest alongside these imagined scenes of quiet companionship, to let the world slow, just as it does when a cat curls up nearby and the room settles into stillness. There is nothing more you need to do, nothing to decide. Just listen, just rest, and as the story continues, let yourself drift further into that calm space where authority softens, time stretches, and sleep arrives naturally, without effort. In the grand imagination, halls of power are places of echoing footsteps and measured voices. They are spaces defined by symmetry and ceremony, by polished surfaces and carefully maintained order. Marble floors stretch wide and cool beneath chandeliers. Portraits gaze outward with composed expressions, frozen in time. Everything appears permanent, deliberate, and immovable. And yet, within these carefully structured environments, there exists a kind of movement that leaves no echo at all. Soft pause crossing marble. Tonight's story invites you to slow your thoughts and wander gently through these formal spaces, noticing how something small and quiet can exist effortlessly within something vast and imposing. As your breathing settles into a steady rhythm, imagine yourself walking through corridors designed for importance solely to discover how easily silence belongs there too. That cats have a remarkable ability to adapt to their surroundings. They do not challenge a space. They do not reshape it. They simply enter and inhabit it as if they have always belonged, in rooms where every object has been placed with intention. A cat finds its own place without asking permission. There is something almost poetic about this. Picture a long hallway, lined with columns and softened by the muted glow of evening light. The marble beneath reflects faint shapes, arches, doorways, shadows. Sound behaves differently here. Even a whisper seems to travel farther than intended. In such spaces, humans instinctively move carefully, aware of their presence, conscious of their impact. A cat, however, moves as if the floor itself welcomes it. Its paws touch down lightly, soundlessly. Each step is deliberate, but unhurried. There is no tension in its posture, no hesitation. The grandeur around it does not demand attention. The cat does not look up at the ceilings or pause before the portraits. It accepts the space without question. This quiet confidence stands in gentle contrast to the formality that defines these halls. Formal environments are built to communicate authority. Their scale and materials send a message before a word is spoken. Marble suggests permanence. High ceilings suggest importance. Everything is meant to impress, to remind those who enter of the weight carried within these walls. And yet, the cat feels none of this weight. To the cat, the marble is simply cool beneath its paws. The corridor is a path leading somewhere familiar. The room is a place where warmth gathers in the afternoon or where stillness settles at night. The symbolism dissolves, replaced by sensation as you listen. Imagine how this changes the atmosphere of the space. The presence of a cat does not diminish the grandeur. Instead, it softens it. It introduces a living element that moves without regard for ceremony. The formality remains, but it becomes less rigid, less distant. The hall feels more like a place that can be inhabited rather than observed. In these moments, the architecture seems to breathe. Cats are masters of navigating complex spaces with ease. They weave around furniture, pause in doorways, and choose paths that feel intuitive rather than prescribed. In environments designed around protocol and movement patterns, this freedom feels almost revolutionary, though the cat has no awareness of such things. It simply follows comfort. Imagine cat padding into a vast room filled with polished wood and stone. The furniture is arranged with symmetry. Everything aligns. And yet, the cat steps outside these lines, choosing a sunlit corner rather than the center of the room. It curls up where warmth gathers, indifferent to the room's intended function. This choice transforms the space. The room is no longer just formal. It becomes lived in. The presence of rest within such a setting sends a quiet message. Stillness is allowed here. As night deepens, the marble halls grow quieter. The day's activity fades. The sounds of voices and movement recede. What remains is an ambient hush, the kind that feels heavy with history, yet gentle in its calm. In this hush, the cat's movements are nearly imperceptible. You might hear the faintest brush of fur against fabric, the soft exhale of breath, the subtle shift of weight. These sounds are not disruptive. They belong to the quiet, adding texture rather than breaking it. For those who spend their days within such environments, these moments can feel grounding, surrounded by symbols of authority and expectation. The quiet presence of an animal introduces a different rhythm, one that is slower, more instinctive. Cats do not rush. They understand timing in a way that feels ancient. They wait until a space feels right before entering. They pause without impatience. They rest without guilt. This natural pacing contrasts sharply with the urgency often associated with formal environments. Schedules, meetings, decisions all demand forward motion. And yet, here is a creature entirely unconcerned with any of it. The cat lies down. The marble, once cold and imposing, becomes a place of rest. The room, once defined by its purpose, becomes simply a space shared by living beings. As you imagine these scenes, allow your own pace to slow. Let your thoughts move more quietly. There is no need to follow a narrative arc or anticipate what comes next. This story is meant to unfold like a slow walk through familiar halls at night. Notice the way light changes as evening deepens, the way shadows soften edges, the way silence becomes fuller rather than empty. Cats thrive in these transitional moments. They are creatures of dusk and dawn, most active when the world shifts between states. In formal spaces, these transitions are especially pronounced. The change from day to night alters not just the lighting, but the energy of the place. During the day, the halls are purposeful. At night, they become contemplative. A cat understands this instinctively. It emerges from quiet corners, stretches, moves through the space as if checking on it, not guarding, not patrolling, simply acknowledging. Its presence reassures without intention. There is a kind of wisdom in this behavior, a reminder that spaces do not need constant activity to remain meaningful. That rest is not an absence of purpose, but a necessary counterpart to action. As the cat settles into a favorite spot, the marble no longer feels distant. It becomes part of a shared environment, cool beneath fur, steady beneath weight. For listeners, this imagery invites a sense of ease. The mind often mirrors the spaces it imagines. When you picture vast halls softened by quiet presence, your own internal space may begin to feel less rigid, less demanding. Thoughts slow. Muscles relax. Breathing deepens. This is not accidental. The contrast between grandeur and gentleness creates balance. It reminds us that even the most imposing structures can hold softness within them. Cats embody this balance effortlessly. They do not challenge authority, yet they do not submit to it either. They coexist. They move through formal spaces as naturally as they would through a familiar home. In doing so, they reveal something important. Power does not need to dominate every corner. There is room for quiet. Imagine walking behind a cat as it leads you down a corridor. It turns without warning, choosing a side passage. You follow, curious but unhurried. The space feels less intimidating now, guided by this small, confident presence. The marble reflects less. The walls seem closer. The room feels warmer. This guided movement mirrors the way the story itself is meant to lead you, not with urgency, but with gentle suggestion. You are not being asked to analyze or conclude, only to observe and rest as the cat settles once more. It's perhaps near a window where moonlight spills across the floor. The scene reaches a kind of stillness that feels complete. Nothing more needs to happen. The marble halls remain grand. The architecture remains unchanged. But something within them and within you has softened. Soft paws have crossed a rigid space, and in doing so, revealed its hidden gentleness as you continue to listen. Let this softness carry you further into rest. Let the image of quiet movement and silent presence linger. There is no destination to reach, only the comfort of drifting deeper into calm, where even the most imposing spaces feel welcoming. Sleep arrives naturally, without effort. As evening settles and the day begins to release its hold, the world often feels less defined by sharp edges and more shaped by subtle impressions. This is the hour when quiet reflections feel natural, when the mind loosens its grip on urgency, and when stories unfold best at an unhurried pace. Tonight's story invites you into that gentle space, where authority softens and humanity quietly steps forward, guided by the presence of a cat in public imagination. Leadership is often portrayed through strong gestures and confident words. Authority appears formal, distant, and carefully maintained. The rooms where leadership takes place are imagined as solemn and precise. Every detail reinforces the seriousness of responsibility. And yet, within these spaces, there have always been moments that contradict that image, not loudly, not dramatically, but softly. A cat entering the room changes nothing on the surface. No rules are rewritten. No decisions are altered. And yet, something shifts. This shift is not easily measured. It exists in perception rather than policy, in feeling rather than formality. A cat does not represent authority, but it reveals something beneath it. Something human. Cats are quiet diplomats by nature. They negotiate space without confrontation. They move through environments with a kind of respectful independence, neither demanding attention nor avoiding it entirely. Their presence communicates calm, patience, and an absence of pretense in a room where authority is concentrated, where words are chosen carefully and appearances are managed. The cat introduces an element that cannot be rehearsed. It does not perform. It simply exists. Imagine a formal office late in the day. The work is ongoing, but the intensity has softened. Papers rest neatly on a desk. The light from a lamp casts warm shadows. Outside, the city hums at a distance. Into this space, a cat walks quietly, pauses, and settles somewhere nearby. There is no announcement. No acknowledgement is required. The cat does not care who is present or what decisions are being made. It is drawn instead to warmth, familiarity, and calm. In doing so, it brings those qualities into the room. For those who observe leadership from afar, glimpses of such moments, whether shared or imagined, can reshape perception. Authority begins to feel more approachable, more grounded. The leader is no longer only a figure of responsibility, but also a person capable of stillness and connection. This is the subtle power of feline diplomacy. Cats have long been associated with independence. They choose when to engage and when to withdraw. They are comfortable being near without being involved. This quality mirrors a kind of emotional intelligence, an understanding that presence does not always require participation. In the context of leadership, this becomes especially meaningful. Public roles often demand constant engagement. Every appearance, every statement, every interaction is interpreted and analyzed. A cat offers a contrast to this intensity by existing outside of it. The cat does not react to public opinion. It does not anticipate reaction. It responds only to the immediate environment. This simplicity can be profoundly reassuring as you listen. Allow yourself to imagine how this presence affects the emotional tone of a space. The room feels less rigid, the atmosphere less formal, the silence more comfortable. For a leader, such moments offer quiet relief. For the public, they offer a glimpse of authenticity. Authority, when softened by humanity, becomes easier to trust, not because it loses strength, but because it gains warmth. Cats contribute to this warmth without intention. Their presence does not seek to persuade or impress, and because of this, it feels genuine. This genuineness resonates deeply. In a world where images are curated and narratives carefully shaped, authenticity stands out precisely because it cannot be forced. A cat lounging nearby, stretching lazily, or observing quietly cannot be scripted. Its behavior is entirely its own. This unscripted presence introduces honesty into the scene. Imagine a quiet moment captured in directly a photograph, a passing mention, a memory shared later. The leader is seated, thoughtful. Nearby, a cat rests comfortably. The contrast is striking, not because it is dramatic, but because it feels real. The presence of a cat does not diminish authority. Instead, it reframes it. Leadership becomes not just a role, but a human experience shaped by emotion, reflection, in moments of calm. Cats, with their keen sensitivity, often respond to emotional cues. They gravitate toward quiet energy. They settle near calm. In doing so, they reinforce it. This mutual exchange human stillness, inviting feline presence. Feline presence, encouraging human calm, creates a cycle of quiet reassurance. As listeners, we are invited to step into this cycle tonight. You are not asked to consider specific events or outcomes. You are simply invited to observe how small, quiet presences can have outsized emotional influence. Feline diplomacy does not involve negotiation tables or formal agreements. It happens wordlessly, in shared space and shared silence. In these moments, authority and humanity are not opposites. They coexist naturally. The cat does not challenge authority. It does not defer to it either. It treats everyone the same with mild curiosity and selective attention. This equality, subtle as it is, carries meaning. It reminds us that beneath titles and responsibilities, people remain individuals capable of connection, comfort, and quiet companionship. Public perception often shifts through these small details. A leader seen in moments of ease becomes more relatable, more approachable, not because they have changed, but because a fuller picture emerges. Cats help reveal this fuller picture. They invite observers to see leadership not as a constant performance, but as a human role sustained by moments of rest and balance. As the evening deepens, imagine the room growing quieter. The cat shifts position, curls more tightly, and rests. The lamp casts softer light. The atmosphere settles. There is no need for conversation. Silence is enough. This silence carries meaning, not the silence of secrecy, but the silence of comfort, the kind that exists when nothing needs to be proven. For those who carry responsibility, such silence can be restorative. For those who observe from afar, it can be reassuring. Leadership, softened by presence, becomes less distant as you listen. Notice how your own thoughts begin to slow, how your breathing becomes steadier. This story is not meant to inform or persuade. It is meant to comfort. The image of a quiet room shared by a human and a cat offers a model of calm coexistence. Authority remains intact, but it is no longer intimidating. Humanity steps forward gently, without spectacle. This is the essence of feline diplomacy. It does not announce itself. It whispers, and in those whispers, it bridges the gap between power and personhood, between public image and private calm. As the story continues, allow yourself to drift further into that calm. Let the idea settle that even in the most powerful rooms, gentleness exists, that even authority benefits from quiet companionship. There's nothing more you need to do tonight. Just listen. Just rest. Let the whispers fade into stillness, and allow sleep to arrive naturally, carried by the soft, steady presence of calm. As night deepens and the world grows quieter, there is a kind of listening that happens without effort. It is not the listening of ears tuned for words, but the listening of presence, of being in a place long enough to feel its rhythm. Tonight's story drifts into that kind of listening, inviting you to rest within moments that history never formally recorded, yet quietly held. History, as it is usually told, favors clarity and conclusion. It highlights dates, decisions, and declarations. It captures speeches, signatures, and ceremonies. What it rarely preserves are the pauses in between the moments when rooms grew quiet, when lamps burned late, when responsibility weighed heavy and time seemed to slow. And yet, those moments happened. They unfolded softly, often witnessed by no one who would later write them down, except, spritey sometimes, by a cat. Cats are natural observers. They watch without comment. They remain present without interruption. They do not interpret events or assign importance. They simply notice. In doing so, they become quiet witnesses to the unrecorded flow of life. Imagine a long evening in a place shaped by history. The day's formalities have ended. Advisors have departed. The building settles into its nighttime stillness. A desk lamp casts a warm circle of light. Papers lie open, untouched for the moment, in this quiet. A cat rests nearby. The cat does not know that meetings have just concluded. It does not understand the significance of conversations that took place earlier in the day. It only senses the shift in energy the way the room has exhaled from its place on a chair or windowsill. The cat observes without intention. It sees a human lean back, close their eyes briefly, and breathe more deeply. It notices the subtle change in posture, the release of tension that comes when the day finally loosens its grip. These are the moments history overlooks. Official records capture outcomes. They do not capture fatigue. They note decisions, but not the silence that followed them. They preserve words, but not the quiet that allowed those words to form. Cats, however, are present for all of it. They witness the late nights when lights remain on long after the building has emptied. They are there when coffee cools untouched, when thoughts wander, when responsibility feels especially heavy. They do not judge these moments. They simply share the space. As you listen, allow yourself to imagine these scenes slowly. There is no rush to move forward. The story unfolds like a long, quiet evening marked by urgency. Picture a cat shifting position as the hours pass, stretching, curling, watching shadows lengthen on the wall. Each movement is small, deliberate, and unremarkable. And yet, its movements mark time in a way clocks cannot. The cat becomes a kind of living measure of the night. In rooms where discussions shape the future, the cat is there when voices lower, when conversations end, when solitude replaces collaboration. It witnesses the transition from public role to private reflection. These transitions are rarely documented, tall yet they are essential. Decisions are not made in isolation from emotion. They are shaped by fatigue, by reflection, by moments of quiet reconsideration. Cats bear silent witness to this human process. They do not understand the content of conversations, but they sense tone. They respond to calm and tension alike. They choose proximity when energy softens, and distance when it sharpens. In this way, cats interact with the emotional landscape of history rather than its events. Imagine a meeting room long after others have left. Chairs are pushed back. Papers are stacked neatly. The room holds the echo of voices that are no longer present. A cat walks across the table, stepping carefully between objects, then settles near the center. The meeting is over. The outcome will be recorded. But this moment, this quiet reclaiming of space is not, and yet, it matters. It matters because it reminds us that history is lived by people, not just written by them. It unfolds through ordinary moments as much as extraordinary ones. Cats, unburdened by the need to remember anyway through presence. As the night continues, imagine the cat watching as a human stands by a window, gazing out at the city lights below. Thoughts drift freely now, no longer confined by agenda or schedule. The cat does not intrude. It remains nearby, offering silent companionship. This companionship is uncomplicated. It does not demand conversation. It does not require explanation. It simply exists. For those carrying responsibility, this simplicity can be profoundly grounding. It creates space to process, to release, to rest. And for us, as listeners, it creates an invitation to slow down as well. This story does not ask you to track events or remember names. It invites you to settle into atmosphere, to notice the texture of quiet moments, to feel time stretch gently. The cat's role as an unofficial witness extends beyond late nights. It includes early mornings to those moments before the day fully begins. The soft light of dawn, the building still wrapped in sleep, the cat awake, alert, moving through familiar spaces. These moments are just as unrecorded, just as important. Before the day's responsibilities resume, there is a brief pause, a window of stillness. The cat inhabits this pause effortlessly. It greets the morning not with urgency, but with curiosity. It watches as the first signs of activity return. Footsteps in the distance, doors opening softly, the shift from night to day. Again, history will record what happens next, but it will not record this transition. Cats witness these rhythms without needing to understand them. They are present for the cycles of activity and rest that shape human experience. As the story unfolds, allow yourself to rest within these cycles. Notice how your own thoughts mirror the pacing, slowing, settling, releasing. There is comfort in knowing that not everything needs to be documented to be meaningful, that some moments exist only to be lived. Cats embody this truth. They do not seek recognition. They do not leave written records. Their witness is quiet and complete. In spaces where legacy and permanence are emphasized, cats remind us of impermanence, of the fleeting nature of moments, of the importance of presence over preservation. Imagine a cat observing a conversation that will later be summarized in official language. The cat hears tone, not content. It senses emotion, not implication. It experiences the moment as it is, unfiltered. This pure experience offers a different kind of truth. As listeners, You're invited to adopt this perspective, to listen without analyzing, to observe without interpreting, to rest without purpose. This is why the cat, as an unofficial witness, fits so naturally into a story meant for sleep. It offers permission to let go of the need to follow a narrative arc, to simply exist within the story's atmosphere. As the night deepens further, imagine the cat settling into sleep itself, curled comfortably, breathing slow and steady. The room now holds two forms of rest, human and animal, sharing space and silence. Nothing more needs to happen. History will continue tomorrow. Decisions will be made. Records will be written. But for now, there is only quiet. Let yourself rest within that quiet. Let the ideas settle that even in places shaped by history, there are moments of stillness witnessed only by those who do not speak. Allow sleep to arrive gently, carried by the soft presence of an unofficial witness who asks nothing, remembers everything, and rests without effort. As the evening grows quieter and the pace of the day finally loosens, it becomes easier to notice contrasts that are usually hidden by movement and noise. One such contrast lives quietly at the heart of tonight's story, the gentle balance between independence and structure, between freedom and responsibility, between a wandering spirit and a life defined by routine. This story invites you to rest within that balance, in places shaped by authority. Structure is everywhere. Days unfold according to schedules planned far in advance. Time is divided carefully, measured in meetings, briefings, and obligations. Every movement has a reason. Every hour has a purpose. Structure provides stability, predictability, and continuity's central qualities when responsibility is immense. And yet, within this carefully ordered world, there has always been room for something less predictable, something quietly independent, something that follows its own internal rhythm. A cat. Cats do not resist structure, but they do not belong to it either. They exist alongside routines without being governed by them. Their independence is not disruptive. It is complementary. They accept what is provided space, warmth, familiarity, while retaining the freedom to move, rest, or observe as they choose. This balance is what makes their presence so soothing and structured. Environments. Imagine a day defined by precision. Morning begins at a set time. Tasks follow one another in careful sequence. There are expectations to meet, decisions to weigh, responsibilities that cannot be delayed. The structure is necessary. It supports the weight of leadership. Now imagine, within this structure, a cat moving freely. The cat wakes when it wakes. It stretches slowly, unconcerned with the hour. It chooses a path through the room that feels right in the moment. It pauses when it wishes. It rests when it feels the need. There is no rebellion here, no conflict. The cat does not seek to dismantle routine. It simply lives alongside it, reminding those around it that another rhythm exists. One not bound by clocks or calendars. This coexistence creates a quiet harmony for someone immersed in structured power. The presence of an independent mind can be grounding. It introduces flexibility without chaos. It offers contrast without tension. Cats embody autonomy in its most peaceful form. They do not demand attention, yet they are available. They do not follow instructions, yet they coexist respectfully. Their independence is gentle, not confrontational as you listen. Allow yourself to imagine this dynamic unfolding slowly. Picture a room where the day's structure has temporarily paused. Papers are neatly arranged. The schedule for tomorrow is already prepared. For a brief moment, there is nothing more to do. In this pause, a cat enters the room. It does not acknowledge the structure that defines the space. It senses only comfort and familiarity. It moves toward a window, drawn by the fading light. It settles into a familiar spot, curls its tail, and rests. This simple act reframes the room. The space is no longer defined solely by its function. it becomes a shared environment, one that supports both responsibility and rest. Structured power often demands constant vigilance. Even in moments of quiet, the mind remains alert, anticipating what comes next. The presence of an independent creature invites a different state of mind, one that allows vigilance to soften, if only briefly. The cat does not ask for plans. It does not worry about outcomes. It trusts the moment. This trust is not naive. It is instinctive. Cats have survived by balancing awareness with rest. They are alert when needed and relaxed when possible. They do not expend energy unnecessarily. This efficiency is not driven by obligation, but by intuition in a life governed by obligation. This instinctive balance can be deeply reassuring as you settle further into the story. Notice how the contrast feels not sharp, but smooth. Structure provides a frame. Independence provides ease. Together, they create stability that does not feel rigid. Imagine the daily rhythm of a highly organized environment. Certain sounds, repeat footsteps, doors, voices. The cat becomes familiar with these patterns, yet remains untouched by their significance. It adapts without surrendering autonomy. The cat knows where it likes to rest. It knows which spaces feel calm. It avoids areas that feel crowded or loud. Its choices are guided by comfort rather than expectation. These choices create small islands of calm within the larger structure. For someone living within structured power, observing this independence can be quietly instructive. It suggests that not every moment needs to be filled. That rest can exist within responsibility. That autonomy does not undermine order. As listeners, we're invited to internalize this lesson gently. You do not need to abandon structure to find peace. You can exist within routines while honoring your own need for rest and freedom. The cat demonstrates this effortlessly as evening deepens. Imagine the cat shifting positions, stretching and settling again. The day structure fades into the background. The room feels less formal now, softened by shadow and quiet. The cat's independence becomes more visible at night. Without daytime activity, its movements feel more intentional. It chooses when to be near and when to be alone. This choice is respected. There is no demand for constant interaction, no expectation that presence must be explained. The cat's independence is accepted as natural. In contrast, structured power often requires constant availability. There is always someone to respond to, something to consider. The mind rarely rests completely. The cat, in its quiet autonomy, offers an alternative model. It shows that presence can be selective, that engagement can be intentional rather than automatic. This model does not undermine responsibility. It supports sustainability. As you listen, notice how this idea begins to mirror your own experience. Perhaps your days are structured too filled with obligations, schedules, and expectations. Perhaps rest feels earned rather than natural. This story invites you to reconsider that gently, like the cat. You are allowed to rest without justification. You are allowed to exist without purpose, if only for this moment. The cat does not feel guilty for sleeping. It does not apologize for withdrawing. It understands rest as part of life, not a reward. This understanding creates balance. In structured environments, balance is essential. Without it, rigidity becomes strain. With its structure becomes support. The cat does not challenge the system. It complements it. Imagine a moment late at night. The building is quiet. The responsibilities of the day have been carried, decisions made, tasks completed. The structure has served its purpose. Now there is space. The cat rests peacefully. Its breathing slow and steady. The room feels complete. Nothing more is required. As the story continues, allow this sense of balance to settle into you. Let go of urgency. Let structure loosen its grip. Let independence feel safe rather than risky. You are not being asked to choose one over the other, only to recognize that both can coexist. This recognition is deeply calming as your thoughts slow. Imagine yourself adopting the cat's rhythm, resting when rest feels right, observing without judgment, moving without hurry. The world does not fall apart when you pause. Structure remains. Responsibility waits. For now, there is only quiet balance. Let this balance carry you gently toward sleep. Let the image of independent calm within structured space remain with you as your eyes grow heavy. Tonight, like the cat, you are free to rest secure within structure, unburdened by it, drifting naturally into deep, peaceful sleep. As night settles gently over the world and the noise of the day fades into distance, the mind becomes more receptive to subtle ideas. This is the hour when stories need not persuade or explain, but simply unfold slowly, calmly, and without demand. Tonight's story drifts into that quiet space where ordinary moments quietly shape perception, and where a calm presence becomes a form of quiet strategy. In times of uncertainty, people often look for signs of stability, not grand gestures or sweeping assurances, but small, reassuring details that suggest continuity and steadiness. These details rarely appear in headlines. They live instead in everyday moments that feel familiar, grounded, and human. Within environments shaped by responsibility and expectation. Such moments matter deeply. Cats, with their unhurried movements and consistent routines, naturally embody a sense of normalcy. They do not respond to uncertainty with alarm. They do not anticipate future outcomes or dwell on past difficulties. They live within the present moment, responding only to what is immediately around them. This presence can quietly influence how the space feels and how those within it are perceived. Imagine a setting where uncertainty lingers in the background. Schedules continue, meetings proceed, and responsibilities remain. But beneath the surface, there is a collective awareness that conditions are shifting, that outcomes are unclear in such an environment. Even the smallest moments of calm take on greater significance. Picture a quiet office in the evening. The day's intensity has softened, but thoughts still move steadily. A cat enters the room, stretches, and settles into a familiar spot. The scene is unremarkable, and that is precisely why it matters. The cat's behavior does not change based on circumstances. It follows the same simple patterns it always has. This consistency offers reassurance without words. Cats are creatures of habit. They favor familiar spaces, predictable routines, and quiet observation. These traits create a sense of continuity that is deeply comforting, especially when external conditions feel unsettled. When a cat curls up calmly in a space associated with responsibility, it sends an unspoken message. Some things remain steady. This message does not require explanation. It is felt intuitively for those observing leadership from a distance. Glimpses of everyday normalcy can shape perception more powerfully than formal communication. A calm moment shared with a pet suggests balance, composure, and emotional steadiness. Not because it is staged, but because it is ordinary. Cats do not perform. They do not adjust their behavior to suit an image. Their calm is genuine, rooted in instinct rather than intention. When they appear relaxed, it is because they feel safe. That sense of safety subtly extends outward as you listen. Imagine how this calm presence softens the atmosphere of a room. The space feels less tense, less rigid. The mind responds by slowing, by releasing some of its vigilance. This is not a strategy in the conventional sense. There is no plan, no design, and yet the effect is real. In times of uncertainty, people seek signs that life continues in familiar ways, that routines still hold, that calm is possible. Cats provide this reassurance naturally. They sleep when tired. They rest in familiar places. They greet the day without anticipation or concern. Their behavior anchors the present moment in structured environments. This anchoring can be profoundly stabilizing. Imagine a morning beginning quietly. The building is not yet fully awake. Light filters in softly. A cat moves through the space, following a familiar path. It pauses, stretches, and settles again. Nothing about this moment speaks to uncertainty. It speaks only to continuity. For those who notice such details, the effect is subtle but powerful. The environment feels grounded. The energy, STEADIES. In this way, becomes silent strategists, not through intention, but through presence. They contribute to an atmosphere where calm feels accessible, where normalcy persists even when circumstances feel complex. This influence extends beyond the immediate space. It shapes memory and perception. Moments of calm linger in the mind, offering reassurance long after they pass. As listeners, we are invited to experience this same reassurance. This story does not focus on events or outcomes. It focuses on mood, on atmosphere, on the quiet details that shape how spaces and people are experienced. Cats remind us that stability does not always come from control. It often comes from familiarity, a familiar presence, a familiar routine, a familiar sense of ease in uncertain times. These familiar elements become anchors. Imagine the cat resting comfortably as the day unfolds. Meetings come and go. Voices rise and fall. The cat remains unchanged, content in its chosen spot. This constancy creates contrast. It highlights the difference between the unpredictable nature of events and the steady rhythm of everyday life. That rhythm is deeply soothing as the evening returns and the day winds down. The cat's routine repeats. It moves through the space, checks familiar corners, and settles again. There is comfort in this repetition. For those immersed in responsibility, such moments offer relief. They provide a reminder that life is more than decisions and deadlines. That rest is part of the cycle. For observers, these moments offer reassurance that leadership is sustained not only by strength, but by balance. Cats embody this balance effortlessly. They are alert without anxiety, calm without disengagement, present without pressure. These qualities shape perception quietly, without announcement. As you continue to listen, allow yourself to adopt this calm perspective. Let go of the need to anticipate or resolve. Let the story move at the pace of rest. The image of a cat resting peacefully invites your own nervous system to relax. Breathing slows, muscles soften, thoughts drift. This is the power of everyday calm. It does not command attention. It invites it in environments associated with uncertainty. This invitation becomes especially valuable. It offers a pause, a moment of grounding, a reminder that not everything is unsettled. Cats, through their simple routines, reinforce this reminder. They show us that calm can exist alongside complexity, that normalcy can persist even when outcomes are unknown. As night deepens, imagine the cat asleep now, completely at ease. The room is quiet. The atmosphere is settled. Nothing more needs to happen. Allow this image to carry you toward rest. Let this sense of stability and normalcy settle within you. You are safe to relax, safe to let go tonight. Like the silent strategist, you do not need to act or plan. You only need to rest. Let sleep arrive gently, supported by the quiet reassurance that calms. Familiar rhythms continue steady and unchanged through even the most uncertain times. As night settles and the world gradually releases its expectations, there comes a moment when effort softens into ease. This is the hour when schedules loosen their grip, when plans pause, and when it becomes possible to notice what exists beyond intention. Tonight's story unfolds in that gentle space where authenticity emerges, not through design, but through presence. In environments shaped by responsibility, planning is essential. Days are carefully arranged. Time is divided into precise segments. Every movement has a purpose. Every appearance carries meaning. Protocol guides behavior, ceremony frames interaction, and symbolism reinforces structure. These elements provide stability, continuity, and clarity. And yet, in this carefully scripted world, something unscripted quietly exists. A cat. Cats are entirely uninterested in ceremony. They do not observe protocol. They do not recognize symbolism. They are immune to performance. Their actions are guided not by expectation, but by instinct. This immunity introduces authenticity into spaces defined by intention. Imagine a day unfolding according to plan. Meetings begin and end on schedule. Conversations follow prepared outlines. Every detail aligns with purpose. The rhythm is steady, controlled, and deliberate. Now, imagine, within this rhythm, Kate entering the room. It does not pause for acknowledgement. It does not wait for the right moment. It moves when it chooses, guided by comfort and curiosity. It sits where it feels at ease, not where it is expected. This simple act quietly alters the atmosphere. The cat's presence does not disrupt the structure. It does not challenge authority. And yet, it introduces something real, something unplanned. Authenticity is often described as honesty, but it is more accurately a lack of pretense. It is behavior that exists without adjustment for perception. Cats embody this naturally. They are exactly as they are, regardless of context, in a world dominated by planning and symbolism. This quality stands out, not loudly, but unmistakably, as you listen. Allow yourself to imagine how this unscripted presence feels. The room becomes less rigid. The energy softens. The mind releases some of its vigilance. Cats remind us that not every moment needs to be curated, that not every action needs meaning attached to it. They stretch when they feel stiff. They rest when they feel tired. They observe when they are curious. Their behavior is honest, direct, and uncomplicated. This honesty creates contrast in environments where words are carefully chosen and gestures measured. The cat's spontaneity feels refreshing. It reintroduces natural rhythm into artificial structure. Picture a formal space late in the day. The schedule has been followed. The symbolism has served its purpose. The room holds the quiet after activity. Into this stillness, a cat wanders, exploring without agenda. It pauses, perhaps distracted by a shadow or a sound. It adjusts its position without concern for appearance. It settles into rest wherever comfort appears. There is no performance here. This absence of performance is deeply calming. For those immersed in scripted environments, constant awareness of expectation can be exhausting. Every action feels observed, interpreted, weighed. The presence of an unscripted being offers relief from this awareness. The cat does not interpret. It does not judge. It does not expect consistency between words and actions. It simply responds to what is. This response encourages others to do the same as the evening deepens. Imagine how the scripted elements of the day begin to fade. The symbols remain, but their intensity softens. The space feels less formal now. It's more human. The cat becomes a focal point now because it seeks attention, but because it embodies ease. Its presence suggests that authenticity does not require effort. It emerges naturally when pressure recedes. As listeners, you're invited into this same ease. This story does not ask you to follow a plot or track details. It invites you to experience atmosphere, to notice how unscripted moments feel when they are allowed to exist without interruption. Cats are masters of such moments. They do not fill silence. They inhabit it. They do not rush transitions. They move when ready. They do not explain themselves. They simply are in scripted worlds. This simplicity feels profound. Imagine the contrast between a carefully planned event and the quiet afterward. The preparations complete, the structure intact, the purpose fulfilled. What remains is space. The cat enters this space effortlessly, It walks across polished floors without regard for their significance. It curls up near objects chosen for symbolism, transforming them into background. The focus shifts from meaning to presence. This shift is subtle, but it changes how the space feels. The room no longer demands attention. It offers rest. Authenticity has this effect. It reduces the distance between role and reality. It brings experience back into the body, into sensation. Cats anchor us in sensation. The warmth of fur, the sound of breathing, the quiet movement of a tail. These details pull attention away from abstraction and into the present moment. This grounding is especially valuable in environments dominated by abstraction, by ideas, plans, and symbols. As you continue listening, notice how your own awareness shifts. Thoughts slow. The need to interpret fades. Sensation becomes more prominent. This is the gift of unscripted presence. It does not require explanation. It simply invites. Cats do not resist structure, but they do not participate in it either. They exist alongside it, unaffected by its demands. This coexistence reveals something important. Structure does not need to be oppressive to be effective. When balanced with authenticity, it becomes supportive rather than restrictive. The cat demonstrates this balance without intention. It respects boundaries and understands closed doors, occupied spaces while ignoring those that hold no meaning for it. It navigates the environment intuitively. This intuitive navigation feels reassuring. It suggests that not everything needs to be consciously managed. In a scripted world, letting go can feel risky, but the cat shows that letting go can also feel natural. As night settles further, imagine the cat settling into sleep. Its body relaxes completely. There's no awareness of how it appears or what it represents. There is only rest. The room grows quieter. The scripted world pauses. In this pause, authenticity fills the space not as a statement, but as a feeling. For listeners, this feeling is deeply restful. It allows the mind to stop performing, to stop planning, to stop anticipating. You are allowed to exist without explanation. Like the cat, you do not need to follow a script tonight. You do not need to meet expectations or fulfill roles. You are free to rest. Let the image of unscripted calm settle into you. Let the weight of planning and symbolism drift away. Let authenticity feel safe. As sleep approaches, remember that beneath every structure lies the possibility of ease. Beneath every script, the freedom to simply be. Tonight, follow the quiet example of the cat. Release the need to perform. Rest without purpose. Allow sleep to arrive gently, unscripted and natural, carrying you into deep, peaceful rest. As the day eases into evening and the world begins to move more slowly, there is comfort in rhythm. Not the rigid ticking of a clock, but the softer rhythm of living things, going about familiar routines. Tonight's story settles into that gentle cadence, inviting you to rest within the quiet patterns of daily life patterns, shaped not by urgency, but by repetition, warmth, and ease, in places known for constant motion and responsibility. Routine becomes a kind of anchor. It steadies the day, offering predictability amid complexity. And within those routines, there are smaller rhythms, still, ones so subtle, they are often overlooked. The soft padding of fur across a familiar floor, the quiet pause in a sunlit corner, the gentle certainty of meal times and rest. These rhythms unfold daily, unnoticed, yet essential. Imagine morning arriving slowly. The building is still quiet, wrapped in the calm before activity begins. Light filters through tall windows, pale and gentle. The air feels cool and clean. Somewhere within these walls, a cat wakes not to an alarm, but to instinct. It stretches, long and unhurried, each movement deliberate. There is no rush. The day will come when it comes. This is how rhythm begins, not with sound, but with motion. The cat moves through familiar spaces, retracing paths it knows well. It pauses briefly in places that feel safe, places that have held warmth before, a favorite chair, a corner where sunlight gathers later in the morning. The cat remembers these things without thinking about them. Routine lives in the body. Feeding time arrives not by schedule, but by expectation. The cat senses when it is near, when the quiet of morning gives way to gentle activity. There is comfort in this anticipation, not urgency, just certainty. The bowl is placed. The sound is familiar. The cat eats calmly, unbothered by the larger world beginning to stir. This simple act sets the tone for the day as people begin to move through the building. Their footsteps blend into a low, steady hum. Doors open and close softly. Voices remain measured. The day unfolds according to plan. The cat weaves effortlessly through this movement, unaffected by its importance. It understands only flow, when to move, when to pause, when to step aside. This is another rhythm. Coexistence. The cat finds a quiet corner as activity increases, a place slightly removed from motion, yet still connected. It settles there, observing without involvement. Morning becomes mid-morning. Light shifts. Shadows move slowly across floors and walls. The cat dozes lightly, half aware, breathing steady. This rest is not indulgence. It is part of the rhythm. Cats understand balance intuitively. Activity followed by rest. Observation followed by sleep. There is no guilt in this pattern. It is simply how life unfolds. As the day continues, the building reaches its most active hours. Conversations happen. Responsibilities are carried. Time moves with intention. The cat remains calm. Perhaps it relocates to another quiet corner as the sun changes position. It chooses comfort instinctively, adjusting without fuss. Each movement is smooth, economical. This adaptability creates peace in environments defined by schedules and structure. Such flexibility feels refreshing. It reminds the space that rhythm can be gentle as well as precise. By afternoon, the light grows warmer. It spills into hallways and rooms at a lower angle, catching dust in the air, softening edges. The cat senses this change and responds by settling into deeper rest. Afternoon naps are sacred rituals. The cat curls into a compact shape, conserving warmth. Its breathing slows further. The world continues around it, but at a distance. This moment carries a particular kind of calm. The energy of the day dips slightly, offering a natural pause. Listeners may feel this pause too. As you imagine this scene, notice how your own body responds. Perhaps your shoulders drop. Perhaps your breathing deepens. The story does not ask for attention, it offers rest. In the late afternoon, routines repeat gently. Another meal. Another quiet movement through familiar paths. The cat remains unhurried, secure in the predictability of its environment. Predictability is not monotony. It is reassurance in a place shaped by responsibility. Routine provides stability. And within that routine, the presence of a calm, rhythmic life form adds softness. As evening approaches, activity gradually slows. The pace shifts. Voices soften. The building exhales. The cat becomes more alert again, sensing the change. It stretches, yawns, and moves through the space, as if acknowledging the transition. Evening brings its own rituals. The cat checks familiar spots. It observes the fading light. It prepares, without planning, for the quiet hours ahead. These transitions happen every day. It's unnoticed, but grounding. As night settles, the building grows still. The hum of daytime fades completely. Lamps cast warm pools of light. Shadows deepen. The cat chooses its place for the night carefully. Perhaps a cushioned chair. Perhaps a spot near a source of warmth. It settles with intention, body relaxing fully. This final rhythm, the rhythm of rest, arrives naturally. There is no announcement, no ceremony, just a quiet understanding that the day is complete. As listeners, you're invited to share in this understanding. You do not need to follow a schedule tonight. You do not need to anticipate tomorrow. Like the cat, you are allowed to respond to rhythm rather than demand. The gentle repetition of daily life, the feeding, the resting, the quiet observations creates a sense of safety. It tells the nervous system that all is well, that life continues steadily. This is why rhythm is so powerful for sleep. The mind relaxes when it senses predictability. The body releases tension when it trusts the flow of time. As the cat sleeps, its presence anchors the space. The building rests with it, held together by shared quiet. Nothing more needs to happen. Allow this image to settle within you. Let the slow cadence of her routine and rest guide your thoughts toward stillness. Tonight, you are part of this rhythm. You are free to slow down, free to rest deeply. Let sleep arrive gently, carried by the steady, peaceful cadence of familiar routines, soft, reassuring, and endlessly calm. As night settles in and the pace of the day finally loosens, the mind becomes more open to quiet reflection. This is the hour when ideas no longer need to persuade or prove themselves, but can simply rest in awareness. Tonight's story moves gently into that reflective space, exploring leadership not as command or control, but as patience, attentiveness, and respect for independence, qualities quietly mirrored by cats. Leadership is often described through action, decisions made, directions given, outcomes achieved. These descriptions focus on movement and authority, on visible influence and measurable results. Yet beneath these outward expressions lies something less visible, but equally powerful: the way leadership feels to those around it. Cats, in their calm and deliberate way, offer a subtle lens through which to explore this feeling. Cats do not lead through instruction. They do not demand compliance or seek validation. And yet, their presence often shapes the behavior of those around them. They invite calm without requesting it. They encourage patience without insisting upon it. They model attentiveness simply by being attentive themselves. This influence is quiet, okay? But it is real. Imagine a cat resting nearby. It does not cling. It does not withdraw completely either. It occupies space comfortably, aware of its surroundings, responsive, but not reactive. It watches with interest, not urgency. This balance, being present without controlling, reflects a form of leadership that is often overlooked in human terms. Patience is frequently misunderstood as passivity. Attentiveness is confused with oversight. Respect for independence is mistaken for distance. But cats embody these qualities in a way that feels natural rather than forced. A cat waits. It waits for the right moment to move, to engage, to rest. It does not rush interaction. It allows space to develop organically. This patience is not strategic in the conventional sense. It is instinctive. In leadership, patience creates trust. When people feel unhurried, they feel respected. When decisions are not forced prematurely, confidence grows. Cats demonstrate this without effort. Imagine a leader observing rather than interrupting, listening rather than reacting, allowing others to arrive at their own conclusions. This approach does not diminish authority, it strengthens it. Cats listen with their entire bodies. Their ears turn. Their posture shifts. Their attention sharpens without tension. They notice subtle changes in energy and respond accordingly. This kind of attentiveness is deeply reassuring in environments shaped by responsibility. Attentiveness creates safety. It tells others they are seen, not managed, heard, not evaluated. Cats never pretend to listen. If they are attentive, it is genuine. If they are not, they disengage honestly. There is no performance. This honesty builds trust. As listeners, we can feel this intuitively. The presence of a calm, attentive cat often slows the room. Conversations soften. Movements become more deliberate. The atmosphere, STEATIES, leadership that mirrors this attentiveness has a similar effect. Respect for independence is another quality cats embody naturally. Cats do not seek control over others, nor do they surrender control over themselves. They navigate relationships through mutual respect. They approach when invited. They withdraw when space is needed. They do not interpret distance as rejection or closeness as obligation. This respect creates healthy boundaries. In leadership, respecting independence means allowing others to own their work, their ideas, their pace. It means trusting rather than monitoring, supporting rather than directing every step. Cats demonstrate how this can coexist with connection. A cat may sit near, offering companionship without intrusion. It shares space without demanding interaction. This quiet closeness feels supportive rather than restrictive. Imagine leadership that feels like this: present, steady, available, yet non-invasive. Such leadership fosters confidence. It encourages initiative. It allows individuals to grow without fear of constant correction as night deepens. Okay? Imagine the stillness of a room where nothing is required. A cat rests nearby, alert but relaxed. The atmosphere feels balanced. This balance is the essence of sustainable leadership. Cats conserve energy wisely. They do not remain on high alert unnecessarily. They rest deeply so they can respond effectively when needed. In human terms, this reflects emotional regulation, the ability to remain calm under pressure, to respond rather than react. Leadership that embodies this regulation feels stabilizing. It does not amplify stress. It absorbs it. Cats do not escalate tension. They withdraw from chaos. They seek calm environments. Their choices are guided by equilibrium. This preference subtly shapes the spaces they inhabit. Imagine a leader who models calm during uncertainty, who does not add urgency to already complex situations, who allows space for reflection. Such leadership creates resilience. As you listen, notice how the qualities being described, patience, attentiveness, respect for independence, feel in your body. They are not sharp or demanding. They are soft, grounding, reassuring. This is why cats are such powerful mirrors. They show us that influence does not require dominance. That leadership does not require constant assertion. That presence can be enough. Beyond the lap, the place of comfort and closeness, cats also demonstrate when to step away. They do not linger when engagement no longer feels right. They trust their instincts. Leadership that respects this instinct allows for autonomy. It recognizes that people perform best when they are trusted to manage their own space and energy. This trust builds loyalty more effectively than control ever could. As the story continues, imagine a quiet moment where nothing needs to be resolved. The cat observes. The human reflects. There is no urgency. This shared stillness holds meaning. It suggests that leadership is not only about guiding others forward, but about knowing when to pause, when to listen, when to allow silence to do its work. Silence is often undervalued, yet it is where understanding deepens. Cats are comfortable with silence. They do not rush to fill it. They treat it as a natural state. Leadership that honors silence creates room for insight. As listeners, we are invited to rest in this silence too. You do not need to evaluate these ideas or apply them immediately. Let them settle gently, like a cat finding a comfortable place. Notice how calm spreads when expectations fall away. Leadership is most human, reflects these same qualities. It is steady rather than loud, observant rather than intrusive, respectful rather than controlling. Cats reveal this not through instruction, but through example. As night grows deeper, imagine the cat settling into rest. Its work, if it can be called that, is complete. It has observed, responded, and now it sleeps. The room feels balanced. Let this balance carry you towards sleep. Let the idea settle that strength can be gentle, that leadership can be quiet, that influence can exist without force. Tonight, you are not asked to lead or follow. You are invited simply to rest, to trust the rhythm of calm presence, and allow sleep to arrive naturally, like the cat beyond the lap. You are free to relax, knowing that patience, attentiveness, and respect are already enough. When the world finally grows quiet and the edges of the day soften, there is a particular kind of stillness that settles in. It arrives late, after lights dim and voices fade, after the last responsibilities loosen their hold. This is the hour when thoughts slow and the body remembers how to rest. Tonight's story lives in that hour, the quiet hours where calm companionship matters most. Late at night, time behaves differently. Minutes stretch gently. Sounds feel farther away. The mind, no longer pushed forward by urgency, begins to wander inward. For many, this is when stress surfaces not loudly, but softly through lingering thoughts and unfinished feelings. It is also when comfort becomes most valuable. Cats understand these hours. Instinctively, they are creatures of twilight and night, comfortable in the spaces between activity and rest. When the world slows, they become more present, not demanding, not restless, simply there. Their calm companionship offers something rare, reassurance without conversation. Imagine a room late at night. The work of the day has not fully released its grip, but it no longer presses as hard. A lamp casts a warm pool of light. Papers lie quietly on a desk. Outside, distant sounds drift past like echoes of another world. In this quiet, a cat enters. It does not ask what you are doing. It does not interrupt your thoughts. It moves gently, aware of the stillness, as if respecting it. It chooses a spot nearby and settles, breathing slow and steady. This presence changes the room. The cat does not fix problems or resolve tension. It does something simpler and more powerful. It shares the quiet. In doing so, it makes solitude feel less heavy. Late night work often carries a different emotional weight than daytime effort. There is less distraction, more reflection. Thoughts can circle, revisiting details and concerns. In these moments, companionship does not need to speak to be effective. Cat's presence grounds attention in the present moment. You notice the subtle sounds, the soft rustle of fur, the quiet rhythm of breathing. These details pull awareness away from spiraling thoughts and back into the body. This grounding is deeply calming. Cats do not judge late nights. They do not question why the lights are still on or why sleep has not yet arrived. They accept the moment as it is. Their acceptance offers permission to do the same. Imagine the cat shifting position as the hours pass, stretching briefly, resettling. Each movement is unhurried, deliberate. There is no tension in its body, no urgency in its actions. This ease is contagious, as listeners may feel your own breathing begin to match this slower rhythm. Your shoulders may soften. Your thoughts may lose some of their sharpness. This is the comfort of quiet companionship in moments of stress. Words often feel insufficient. Advice can feel intrusive. Solutions can feel distant. Presence, however, always fits. Cats excel at presence. They sit nearby without expectation. They offer warmth without demand. They remain attentive without pressure in late night solitude. These qualities matter more than anything else. Imagine stress pacing slightly as the cat's steady breathing fills the silence. There is no need to speak, no need to explain. The cat is content to simply be near. This nearness is reassuring. It reminds the nervous system that it is not alone, that the night is safe. Cats often choose late nights to be especially close. They sense when energy softens, when the world grows quieter. They respond by offering proximity's constant attention. But this availability feels like an open door. As the night deepens, the mind often begins to replay the day. Conversations repeat. Decisions resurface. The future peeks in. These thoughts can feel heavier in the dark. The presence of a cat gently interrupts this cycle. You notice the warmth where it rests, the slight movement as it breathes, the quiet certainty that life continues calmly, even now. Cats live comfortably in the present. They do not revisit the past or anticipate the future. Their focus remains on immediate sensation and comfort. This focus invites the mind to follow as you listen. Imagine allowing your attention to settle on something simple, the rhythm of breathing, the warmth of a nearby presence, the softness of the moment. There is nothing else you need to do. Late night. Stress often comes from the feeling that rest must be earned, that sleep must wait until everything is resolved. Cats do not operate this way. They rest when rest feels right. They sleep without guilt. They pause without explanation. This natural permission to rest can be deeply healing. Imagine a cat curling more tightly as the night grows still. Its body relaxes fully. The room feels complete, held together by quiet. In this completeness, stress loosens its grip. Solitude no longer feels empty. It feels shared. This shared quiet does not require interaction. It is enough to know another living being is present, calm, and at ease. That as listeners, you are invited to share in this ease. You do not need to resolve the day tonight. You do not need to plan tomorrow. Like the cat, you are allowed to rest simply because the night has arrived. The quiet hours exist for this purpose. They offer a pause between what has been and what will be. They hold space for recovery, reflection, and release. Cats inhabit this pause naturally. They remind us that calm is not something to be achieved, it's something to be allowed. As the story continues, imagine the cat drifting into sleep. Its breathing deepens. The room settles around it. The lamp's light feels softer now. Your own body responds instinctively. Breathing slows. Muscles relax. Thoughts become less defined. This is the comfort of quiet hours. Nothing more needs to happen. Allow yourself to rest in this shared stillness. Let the presence of calm companionship guide you gently toward sleep. Tonight, you are not alone in the quiet. You are supported by steady presence, soft rhythm, and the simple reassurance that rest is safe. Let sleep arrive naturally, carried by the peaceful companionship of the quiet hours, slow, warm, and deeply comforting. As the night settles more deeply and sound recedes into the background, there is a quieter form of listening that begins to emerge. It does not rely on words, explanations, or conclusions. It is the kind of listening that happens when the mind grows still enough to notice subtle shifts, changes in atmosphere, posture, breath, and presence. Tonight's story rests in that gentle awareness, exploring how cats, masters of nonverbal communication, invite mindfulness, observation, and emotional sensitivity into spaces shaped by high responsibility. In environments where words carry weight, silence often speaks just as clearly. Decisions are discussed, plans are articulated, intentions carefully phrased. Language becomes the primary tool of action and authority. And yet, beneath this layer of speech exists another form of understanding, one that operates quietly, continuously, without conscious effort. Cats live entirely within this nonverbal world. They do not rely on language to communicate. They sense, respond, and adjust through observation alone. A shift in tone, a change in posture, a subtle movement, these are their signals. Their awareness is constant, finely tuned to emotional undercurrents rather than spoken. Meaning, this sensitivity becomes especially meaningful in places where responsibility is high and words are often carefully managed. Imagine a quiet room late in the evening. Conversations have ended. The weight of the day lingers in the air. No one is speaking, yet much is being felt. In this silence, a cat remains attentive, its ears angle slightly, tracking subtle sounds. Its eyes observe movement without fixation. Its body remains relaxed, but ready to respond. Nothing is exaggerated. Nothing is rushed. This is listening without language. Cats are acutely aware of emotional states. They respond not to what is said, but to how energy shifts. Calm draws them closer. Tension causes distance. Their behavior is honest and immediate in high responsibility roles, where individuals often feel the need to manage expression. This kind of honest response can be revealing. The cat does not interpret intent. It reacts to presence if a space feels heavy. The cat may choose to sit nearby without interaction, offering quiet companionship. If the energy feels unsettled, it may observe from a distance. If calm returns, it may approach again. This responsiveness encourages awareness. Those who notice begin to tune in, noticing their own posture, their breathing, the emotional tone they carry. Without instruction, mindfulness begins to emerge. As you listen, imagine how this awareness feels. There is no need to analyze or correct, only to observe. Mindfulness often sounds complex, but at its core, it is simple attention to what is happening now, without judgment. Cats practice this naturally. They notice everything, but cling to nothing. They observe, then move on. They do not dwell. They remain present in environments dominated by responsibility, where minds are often pulled toward past decisions or future outcomes. This presence offers balance. Imagine a moment of stillness where nothing needs to be said. The cat watches quietly. The human breathes more slowly. Awareness shifts inward. No language is exchanged. Yet communication occurs. This kind of communication is deeply regulating. The nervous system responds to subtle cues, soft movements, steady breathing, relaxed posture. Cats embody these cues effortlessly. Their calm becomes contagious. In moments of stress, words can sometimes amplify tension. Silence, shared calmly, can dissolve it. Cats understand this instinctively. They do not attempt to comfort through action. They simply remain present. Their stillness offers permission for others to be still as well as the night deepens. Imagine the room growing quieter. Sounds become minimal. Awareness sharpens naturally. The cat's attention remains gentle, not intense. It listens without strain. This form of listening does not seek information. It seeks connection in high responsibility roles. Connection is often filtered through hierarchy and expectation. Nonverbal awareness cuts through these layers. It allows people to sense when to pause, when to proceed, when to offer space. Cats model this sensitivity without effort. They know when to approach and when to wait. They respect boundaries instinctively. They respond to emotional shifts with honesty rather than strategy. This honesty encourages emotional awareness. Those who share space with cats often find themselves becoming more attuned to their own internal states. They notice when they are tense, when they are calm, when they are distracted. The cat reflects these states subtly. If calm is present, the cat settles. If tension arises, it shifts. This reflection is not judgmented, it's feedback. As listeners, we are invited to receive this feedback. Gently notice your own breathing. Notice the pace of your thoughts. Notice how your body feels as the story unfolds. There is no need to change anything. Mindfulness grows naturally from attention. Cats demonstrate that listening does not require effort. It requires openness. They are not hypervigilant. They are aware without being overwhelmed. This balance is especially valuable in demanding environments, where constant alertness can lead to exhaustion. Listening without language allows the mind to rest while remaining present as the night continues. Imagine the cat settling into a comfortable position, eyes half closed but still aware. Its listening has not stopped, softened. This softened awareness is the ideal state for rest. You are still connected, still present, but no longer tense. In this state, emotional awareness becomes gentle rather than intense. Feelings are noticed, then allowed to pass. Cats live in this flow. They respond, then release. They do not hold onto emotion. This quality makes their presence deeply calming. As you listen, allow yourself to adopt this same approach. Notice thoughts as they arise, then let them drift away. Notice sensations, then release them. There is no need to engage deeply with anything the night holds you. Listening, without language, creates space for rest. It quiets the mind without effort. It encourages a sense of safety. As the cat's breathing slows further, the room feels complete. Nothing is missing. Nothing is required. This completeness allows sleep to arrive naturally. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to resolve anything. Like the cat, you are allowed to listen quietly to the rhythm of breath, to the calm of the room, to the gentle stillness of the night. Let this listening guide you toward start. Let awareness soften. Let language fade. Allow sleep to arrive gently, carried by quiet presence, steady breath, and the calm wisdom of listening without words. As the night grows deeper and the world outside settles into stillness, there comes a rare and gentle moment when effort loosens its grip. It is not an ending, nor a retreat, but a pause, a quiet space where motion slows and awareness softens. Tonight's story rests in that pause, where leadership steps briefly aside and something more human takes its place. Power is often imagined as constant motion, decisions flowing one after another, attention stretched outward, responsibility never fully released. Even in quiet moments, the weight of obligation can linger, shaping posture, breath, and thought. And yet, even the most demanding roles allow for moments when power rests. These moments are small. They do not appear in records or speeches. They happen between tasks, between thoughts, between breaths. A hand resting gently on fur, a gaze lingering on a sleeping cat, a breath finally deepening. This is the pause from power. Imagine a quiet room late at night. The day's responsibilities have been carried, the necessary decisions made. The world has not stopped, but for now, it does not require attention. Lamps cast warm light. Shadows soften the edges of furniture. In this space, a cat rests. Its body is relaxed, completely at ease. There is no tension in its posture, no urgency in its presence. It sleeps without concern for what has passed or what is to come. Watching this kind of rest invites reflection. The mind, so often engaged with planning and problem solving, begins to slow. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. Awareness turns inward, not to analyze, but to observe. Petting a cat is a simple act, yet it carries remarkable power. The hand moves slowly, almost instinctively. Each stroke follows the grain of fur, smooth and warm beneath the fingers. The movement is repetitive, gentle, predictable. This repetition calms the nervous system. Breathing slows. Muscles soften. Attention narrows to sensation alone. In this moment, leadership is not required. Authority is unnecessary. There is no role to perform. There is only presence. Cats accept this presence without expectation. They do not respond with demands or obligations. They allow the moment to exist exactly as it is. This acceptance creates safety in spaces defined by control and responsibility. Safety can feel elusive. There is always something to manage, something to anticipate. The pause from power offers relief from this vigilance. Watching a cat rest can be just as powerful as touching it. The steady rhythm of breathing, the slight twitch of whiskers, the complete surrender to rest. These details draw attention away from abstract concerns and back into the present moment. The mind follows the rhythm naturally as you listen. Imagine sitting quietly, observing this scene. There is no need to intervene or participate. Simply watching is enough. This watching is not passive. It is attentive, but relaxed. In this state, reflection arises naturally. Not forced reflection, not problem solving, but gentle awareness. Thoughts surface, then drift away. There is space between them now. This space allows insight to form without effort. It allows emotion to settle without suppression. It allows clarity to emerge quietly. Cats do not seek these moments. They create them simply by being. Their ability to rest completely offers permission for others to do the same. In leadership roles, rest is often treated as a reward, something earned after effort is complete. Cats do not operate this way. They rest because rest is part of life. This understanding shifts perspective. Imagine the relief of allowing yourself to pause without justification, to sit quietly without needing a reason, to rest without measuring productivity. This is the gift of the pause from power. As night deepens, the room grows even quieter. Outside sounds fade further into distance. The cat remains asleep, undisturbed. Time stretches gently. In this stretch, the mind loosens its grip on urgency. The body releases tension stored throughout the day. Reflection deepens not into analysis, but into acceptance. Leadership often requires strength, but strength without rest becomes strain. The pause from power restores balance. Cats demonstrate this balance effortlessly. They alternate between alertness and rest without guilt or hesitation. When alert, they are fully present. When resting, they surrender completely. This rhythm is sustainable. Watching this rhythm reminds us that stepping aside does not weaken leadership. It strengthens it. Moments of stillness allow perspective to reset. They prevent burnout. They create space for wisdom to surface. As you imagine these moments, notice how they feel in your body. There is no pressure, no expectation, only calm. This calm does not erase responsibility. It supports it. After rest, clarity returns more naturally. Decisions feel less heavy. The path forward becomes easier to see. But tonight, there is no need to think ahead. Tonight is for rest. The pause from power is not about escape. It is about renewal. It is about remembering that behind every role is a human, being capable of stillness. Cats remind us of this gently. They do not ask us to stop caring. They simply show us how to stop holding tension. As a cat continues to sleep, imagine yourself matching its rhythm. Breathing slow, muscles relaxed, mind quiet. You do not need to hold the world together right now. It will still be there when you wake. This pause is safe as the story settles into deeper quiet. Allow yourself to rest within it. Let go of titles, expectations, and roles. Let go of effort. You are allowed to simply be. Like the cat, you are allowed to rest fully, without awareness of time or outcome. Let this pause from power carry you gently into sleep. Let mental stillness deepen. Let reflection soften into rest. Nothing more is required. Sleep arrives naturally when the mind no longer needs to lead. Tonight, follow the quiet example of the cat. Step aside from power. Step into rest. Allow sleep to take you gently, completely, and without effort. As night settles in and the world grows quieter, attention naturally turns inward. The day's images, headlines, conversations, passing moments begin to blur at the edges. What remains are impressions rather than details, feelings rather than facts. Tonight's story rests in that gentle space, exploring the contrast between what is seen briefly in public and what is lived fully in private, in public life. Small details often capture outsized attention. A fleeting image, a passing moment, a glimpse of something ordinary in an extraordinary setting. When people catch sight of a pet in a public environment, curiosity sparks immediately. The moment feels personal, approachable, and human, and then it passes. What remains unseen, however, is where the true value lies. Pets, especially cats, occupy two very different worlds at once. In public, they appear as symbols, synecdoche, charming, intriguing. In private, they are something else entirely. Steady companions, quiet presences, and sources of calm that exist far beyond the reach of curiosity. Tonight's story invites you to rest within that private compute. Public curiosity thrives on novelty. It is drawn to what feels rare or surprising. A cat appearing briefly in a public moment stands out precisely because it contrasts with expectation. It reminds observers that behind formal roles in structured environments, ordinary life continues. This reminder is powerful but incomplete. The fascination lasts only a moment. Tension moves on. The image becomes a memory. What the public rarely sees is what happens after the moment fades. In private spaces, away from observation, pets return to their true role. They settle into routine, rest. They offer quiet companionship without spectacle. This private presence is not designed to be seen. It exists for restoration rather than impression. Imagine the shift from public to private. The noise recedes, the pace slows, the weight of attention lifts. A cat moves differently now. There is no audience, no curiosity to satisfy. The cat stretches freely, moves without awareness of being watched, and settles where comfort feels right. This is where calm lives. The contrast between public fascination and private calm mirrors a broader human experience. Many lives are shaped by what is visible, by appearances, expectations, and performance. Yet the deepest forms of rest and renewal happen away from view. Cats embody this truth effortlessly. They do not change behavior based on attention. They do not perform for interest. Their calm remains consistent, regardless of who is watching. In public moments, this calm appears charming. In private moments, it becomes sustaining. As you listen, imagine a quiet room after the day's visibility has ended. The lights are softer now. The air feels lighter. The cat moves through familiar spaces with ease. There is no significance attached to its actions, no meaning assigned. And yet, its lack of meaning is exactly what makes the moment restorative. Private calm does not need interpretation. It is felt in the body rather than understood by the mind. The cat rests. Breathing slows. The room follows. This calm presence offers a kind of emotional shelter. It creates a boundary between the outer world and the inner one. Within this boundary, stress loosens and awareness softens. Public curiosity often seeks to understand. Private calm invites release. Imagine the comfort of knowing that not everything needs to be seen to matter, that the most nourishing moments are often the quietest ones. Cats remind us of this gently. They move easily between visibility and invisibility. They appear briefly, then retreat into rest. They do not cling to attention. They return naturally to calm. This rhythm offers a model for balance. As listeners, you are invited to step out of curiosity and into calm, to let go of observation and settle into experience. There is nothing to notice here, except comfort. Private moments with pets are unstructured. They are not shaped by expectation or outcome. They unfold naturally, guided by rhythm rather than purpose. In these moments, time feels different. It stretches gently. There is no urgency. This absence of urgency allows the nervous system to reset. Cats play a powerful role in this reset. Their presence signals safety. Their behavior suggests that the environment is secure enough for rest. Their stillness invites stillness. Public fascination often projects meaning onto pets. Private companionship strips meaning away, leaving only sensation. The warmth of fur, the quiet rhythm of breathing, the shared silence. These sensations ground the mind as night deepens. Imagine the cat settling into a familiar spot. It has no awareness of having been seen earlier, no memory of attention. Its world is now defined entirely by comfort. This simplicity is deeply calming. In private calm, roles dissolve, expectations fade. The mind releases its grip on image and returns to presence. This return is what allows sleep to arrive. As listeners, you may notice a similar shift happening within you. The need to think or evaluate diminishes. Sensation becomes more prominent. Awareness softens. This is the transition from public to private within your own experience. You are no longer performing. You are resting. Public curiosity is outward facing. It seeks stimulation. Private calm is inward facing. It offers restoration. Both have their place, but only one supports deep rest. Cats intuitively prioritize the latter. They withdraw from noise. They choose quiet corners. They rest where interruption is unlikely. These choices create sanctuary as the story continues. Imagine yourself sharing this sanctuary. The world outside grows distant. The room feels safe and enclosed. Nothing is required of you here. There is no audience, no expectation, no need to respond. You are allowed to simply exist. This permission is the heart of private.com. Public life often demands explanation and engagement. Private life allows silence. Cats thrive in silence. They treat it not as absence, but as fullness. This fullness is what carries us into sleep. As the cat drifts deeper into rest, its presence anchors the space. The quiet becomes comforting rather than empty. Your own body responds instinctively. Breathing slows, muscles relax, thoughts lose their sharp edges. This is the restorative power that exists beyond public view. It does not announce itself. It does not impress, it simply heals. Public curiosity may sparkle briefly, but private calm endures. Tonight, you are invited to choose the enduring over the fleeting. Let the images of the day fade. Let curiosity rest. Step into the quiet space where nothing needs to be seen to be meaningful. Like the cat, you are allowed to retreat into rest, to find comfort in routine, to release the need for attention. Let sleep arrive gently, carried by private.com. Steady presence and the quiet assurance that what truly restores us often happens when no one is watching. As the night settles into its deepest quiet, there is a sense that everything important has already happened. The day has completed its work. The world has exhaled. What remains now is atmosphere soft, lingering, and receptive. This is the moment for gentle summation, not through conclusions or declarations, but through feeling. Tonight's story rests in that feeling. History is often described as a series of events, decisions made, paths chosen, moments recorded. These events are tied to places, rooms where discussions unfolded, corridors where footsteps echoed, buildings that held the weight of consequence. Over time, these places become symbols, infused with meaning far larger than their physical form. And yet, within these same spaces, there exist impressions that never altered events, and never appeared in records, but quietly shaped how those places felt. These impressions are emotional rather than factual. They are subtle rather than visible. They are the paw prints of presence. Cats, moving softly through places shaped by history, do not change outcomes. They do not influence timelines or decisions. What they influence is mood. Mood is rarely mentioned in historical accounts, yet it matters deeply. Mood shapes how people experience moments, how tension is held, how pressure is absorbed. Mood determines whether a space feels heavy or light, rigid or humane. Cats leave their mark here. Imagine a grand room long after its most significant moments have passed. The furniture remains. The walls still hold echoes of voices that once filled them. The air carries memory, though no one can quite name it, into this space. A cat enters. Its movement is light, almost imperceptible. It crosses the floor without sound. It pauses briefly, sensing the room not as a symbol, but as a place. It chooses a spot where warmth gathers and rests. Nothing about the room's history changes, and yet something about its atmosphere does. The presence of a cat introduces ease. The room feels less severe, less burdened by its own importance. The weight of expectations softens slightly, so that the space itself is allowed to relax. This is the paw print of power, not authority, imposed. But comfort-offered cats do not leave marks that can be measured. They leave impressions that are felt, a sense of calm lingering in a corner, a memory of quiet companionship, a subtle association between a place and rest. These impressions accumulate slowly, over time. Spaces remember how they felt to be lived in, not just used. In buildings shaped by responsibility. This distinction matters. Use implies function. Living implies presence. Cats bring life into formal spaces without intention. They do not arrive with purpose. They simply inhabit. In doing so, they humanize. Imagine the many hours a room stands empty, waiting. Then imagine the hours when it holds a single person, working quietly late into the night. The room absorbs these moments silently. Now, imagine a cat sharing those hours. The room feels different afterward, not because anything visible has changed, but because something emotional has settled there. Calm has passed through. These emotional traces do not disrupt history. They do not rewrite it. They soften its edges. As listeners, we are invited to appreciate this softness. History often feels distant and rigid because it is presented without mood. Facts alone can feel cold, but lived moments, those filled with quiet presence, sad warmth. Cats contribute to this warmth. They do not seek significance. They do not understand the importance of places they inhabit. And because of this, they interact with these places honestly. They treat a room shaped by history the same way they treat any room as a place to move, to rest, to observe. This equality is powerful. It suggests that no space is beyond comfort, that no place is too important for calm. This suggestion reshapes perception. Imagine walking into a space known for its historical weight. The knowledge of its past might feel overwhelming, but imagine knowing that this space has also held quiet, ordinary moments. A cat sleeping, a quiet pause, a shared silence. These moments do not diminish significance. They make it approachable. The paw print of power is felt in this approachability. Power often creates distance. Comfort closes it. Cats close this distance naturally. They do not stand in awe of symbols. They move freely among them. In doing so, they subtly remind us that spaces are meant to be lived in, not just revered. This reminder changes mood. As the night deepens, imagine a building settling into rest. The echoes of the day fade completely. The space holds only stillness now. Somewhere within it, a cat rests. Its breathing is slow. Its body relaxed. It has no awareness of leaving an impression, and yet it does. The calm it brings remains after it moves on. This calm is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It simply exists. Over time, these quiet moments accumulate, layer upon layer, creating an emotional landscape beneath the visible one. History records what happened. Mood remembers how it felt. Cats contribute to this remembering. They leave behind a sense that even in places shaped by power, gentleness has passed through. That even where decisions carried weight, rest was possible. This knowledge is deeply comforting. As listeners, you may feel this comfort spreading through the story. The sense that importance does not have to feel heavy. That significance can coexist with softness. This coexistence is what allows us to rest. When spaces feel entirely rigid, the mind remains alert. When softness enters, vigilance fades. Cats introduce softness without altering structure. They do not challenge power. They do not engage with it. They simply exist alongside it. This quiet coexistence leaves a lasting emotional trace as the story moves toward its end. Imagine the cat leaving the room. It steps lightly, unnoticed. The space remains, but something has changed. The room feels warmer, less tense, more human. This change is subtle, but real. It is the pop print of power not etched into stone, but into atmosphere. As you reflect on this, allow yourself to feel how gently the idea settles. There is no lesson to learn, no conclusion to reach, only a sense of reassurance. Power does not have to dominate. History does not have to feel distant. Importance does not have to exclude comfort. Cats show us this quietly. They leave without ceremony, but their presence lingers. Tonight, you are invited to let that lingering calm settle within you. You do not need to carry the weight of the day anymore. You do not need to hold significance or responsibility. You are allowed to rest in softness, like the spaces shaped by history. You too can hold both strength and gentleness, structure and ease, importance and calm. Let the pop print of quiet presence guide you into rest. Allow sleep to arrive gently, leaving no mark except comfort, no memory except peace. Nothing more is required, just rest. As the night reaches its deepest stillness, there is a sense that everything is finally settling into place. The world outside has grown quiet. Lights are dim, sounds are distant and softened. This is the hour meant for endings that do not close sharply, but fade gently like the last warm glow of evening, easing into rest. Tonight's story arrives at such an ending, not an ending marked by conclusion or finality, but one shaped by memory, warmth, and the quiet comfort of companionship. A soft ending meant not to awaken thought, but to let it drift away. Throughout this journey, we have moved through places of importance and responsibility, noticing not events, but atmosphere, not decisions, but moments. And in these moments, quiet companions cats have appeared again and again, not as symbols, but as presence. Their legacy is not written, it is felt. Quiet legacies do not announce themselves. They do not demand remembrance. They linger gently, like warmth left behind after someone has rested in a room, like a familiar silence that feels comforting rather than empty. Cats leave these kinds of legacies. Everywhere they go, they do not shape outcomes. They do not alter history. They shape experience. They soften edges. They create memories that are sensed rather than recalled in powerful places where so much attention is given to what lasts forever. Cats remind us of what lasts quietly, a shared stillness, a calm evening, a moment of rest between responsibilities. These moments do not appear in records, but they remain. Imagine a space long after the lights have dimmed for the night. The furniture is still, the air is quiet. The significance of the place feels distant now, replaced by a simple presence. A cat once slept here. That knowledge alone changes how the space feels. Even if the cat is gone, something remains, a softness in the atmosphere, a sense that the room has known rest. This is how quiet legacies endure. They are not tied to names or dates. They exist in feeling. Memory works this way too. The memories that comfort us most are often not dramatic. They are small and sensory. The weight of a quiet moment, the warmth of a presence nearby, the feeling of being safe enough to relax. Cats contribute to these memories effortlessly. They do not seek to be remembered. They simply aren't. That is enough. As the night deepens, allow yourself to reflect gently on this idea. There's no need to search your memory. No need to analyze. Just notice what feels warm, familiar, and calming. Perhaps it is the image of a cat curled comfortably in a quiet room. Perhaps it is the sense of stillness that follows a long day. Perhaps it is the relief of knowing nothing more is required of you tonight. These feelings are part of your own quiet. Legacy. We often think of legacy as something left behind for others, but there is also the legacy we leave within ourselves, the emotional traces of how we live, how we rest, how we allow calm to enter our lives. Choosing rest is part of that legacy. Allowing gentleness is part of. That legacy. Cats model this without effort. They do not rush endings. They allow moments to conclude naturally. When they are tired, they sleep. When they are awake, they observe quietly. Their endings are soft. Imagine a cat settling in for the night. It circles once, twice, then rests. There is no hesitation. No need to check what comes next. Sleep arrives easily. This ease is what tonight's ending offers you. You do not need to carry the day forward. You do not need to hold on to thoughts or plans. You do not need to remember anything from this story. It is enough to feel quiet companions. Teach us that presence does not have to be loud to be meaningful. That comfort does not need explanation. That warmth can exist even in the most serious places and within ourselves. As listeners, you are invited to let this understanding sink in gently. Powerful places may shape history, but quiet companions shape how those places are lived in, and how they are remembered not as distant and severe, but as spaces that also knew stillness. You are allowed that stillness too, as the story reaches its soft ending. Imagine the world fully at rest. The rooms are dark now. The air is calm. The cat sleeps deeply, undisturbed. Nothing stirs. Your own body mirrors this calm. Breathing is slow and even. Muscles release the last traces of tension. Thoughts become less distinct, more like passing clouds than solid ideas. This is the space where sleep lives, not forced, not rushed, just allowed. Quiet legacies are built one gentle moment at a time. Tonight, you are adding one more moment of rest, of softness, of release. There is nothing left to do. Let the warmth of quiet companionship surround you. Let the charm of small, peaceful moments carry you forward. This story does not end abruptly. It simply fades like a light dimming slowly, like evening giving way to night. Allow yourself to drift. Sleep comes easily now, and in this soft ending, you are held by calm, by warmth, and by the quiet assurance that gentle presence is always enough. Good night.